Hi, it's Dave Michaels from Talking Points. I've been talking and writing a little more about service provider voice, and I've been meeting with a lot of the providers that offer solutions for service providers to sell voice. And I was talking to the folks at Intermedia, and before we started talking about their solutions, they started asking me about my Fisker. So while we're talking about the Fisker, I realized two things. One is I haven't done what I call these musing videos. Dave musing randomly on a camera, talking about some thoughts, and so I haven't done one of those in a while. Some people call them amusing videos, but I call them musing videos. And I also decided to do one on Intermedia. So thanks to the folks at Intermedia for asking about my Fisker. This is my Fisker. A rare vehicle, to say the least. A tragic story. I just had the Fisker guy out to replace the water pump. The water pump is the only part on the car that has actually a legitimate recall. Everything else, all the other recalls have been software updates. This was a physical recall. And so got that done. And I was talking to the mechanic, and he basically said that everyone that he's talking to loves this car. It's just a tragic story that the company went bankrupt. I don't know how you could build a car with this specifications and these features that everybody loves and still go bankrupt, but it takes some talent, and they were able to do it. This is the Fisker, a very quiet place to have a nice recording studio, actually. And you can see the solar roof up on top. More of a gimmick than anything else. It charges maybe 1,500 miles a year if you park it outside. I park mine in the garage. And a very comfortable car, very roomy car. And mine has now got everything, right? It's got the water pump replaced, it's got the latest software, and I actually got my secondary key fob the same time as I got the water pump. So that's it. I'm up to date. There's talk about within the Fisker Owners Association about a new app coming that they're building for members that will have a phone as key feature. That'll be nice, and have some other features that you can do from your phone. But no more, the Fisker, the company is gone, and no more official updates from the company. Let's talk a little bit about service provider voice. So for the last couple decades, really, the pendulum has been swinging toward over-the-top apps. And, these include, the typical, Ring Centrals and Vonage and 8x8, but it also includes now Microsoft Teams and WebEx, and we've been seeing a big shift toward these over-the-top applications. The tradition of voice, and voice goes back hundreds of years, the tradition of voice is you always bought it from a service provider, and it isn't even clear whether the UCaaS formula, which includes voice, Teams, and meetings, is even a strong combination. I mean, a lot of UCaaS providers sell a lot more voice than they sell other, and vice versa. Like Microsoft, for example, sells a lot more team chat and video than they sell voice. So the combination isn't necessarily clear. So I'm calling it service provider voice as opposed to service provider UCaaS. And service providers have a number of options. Now, when the pendulum was swinging toward the service providers in the late 90s, there was a whole bunch of different solutions they can go with, and a whole bunch of acquisitions and mergers and all that stuff. And we kind of ended up with three major players on the commercial side. It was BroadSoft with their product called BroadWorks, which Cisco acquired in 2018. We had Metaswitch, which Microsoft acquired, and we had GenBand, which has gone through a number of M&As itself, now goes under the name Ribbon. And all three of them pretty much walked away, or let's say de-emphasized the development of service provider voice. They had other solutions that they worked on. In Cisco and BroadWorks case, I think Cisco acquired BroadWorks so that they could have their own WebEx calling platform. And the service provider voice is a nice channel, and they maintain it. But most of the R&D is going on the WebEx side and the OTT side. And a lot of vendors, again, the pendulum swinging away from the service providers. The service providers themselves weren't investing heavily into it, and the manufacturers weren't investing heavily into it. But now we're at this new point where I believe the pendulum is going to swing back in favor of the service provider. And I think this for various reasons. One is there's all this talk about voice as a commodity. And, you have to think about what that means. But if it's a commodity, that really means that there's not a brand preference. And so you can't say, I love Microsoft Teams or I love WebEx and it's a commodity. You have to basically say it's one or the other. And if it's a commodity, your path of purchase is mostly about the path of least resistance. It could be a bundle, it could be the SLA, it could be an existing vendor, whatever. But it's probably not brand preference. It could be price too, but it's not brand preference. And so that's one reason why we're going to see a pendulum shift. Another reason really is I think Microsoft's focus, because Microsoft kind of won the OTT battles, and their focus has shifted clearly to Copilot and AI. I think a lot of people have their titles changed from Teams to Copilot titles. And, on top of that, the European Union has expressed antitrust concerns with Teams. That doesn't make Microsoft happy. And so I think we're going to see Microsoft, there's not a lot of competition either right now that are on Microsoft's heels. So I think Microsoft's going to slow down. I mean, we've seen some rapid iteration and improvement out of Teams over the past few years. That's going to slow down dramatically. And so that gives the service providers a little bit of a window here. So if you're a service provider, you probably don't want to build your own platform. You want to buy a commercial platform. And there's different ways you can do it. Those three platforms I just mentioned are all data center brands, and a number of vendors still offer data center solutions. A lot of companies are doing pure cloud solutions. Intermedia is one of them. And so Intermedia is a company that offers a pure cloud. They call it a wholesale cloud model, where a service provider can purchase the Intermedia services and then resell it. And this is important. They can resell it in a couple different ways. So first off, you could just be an agent. You can just resell Intermedia. Secondly, you can rebrand it, and you can resell it as a rebranded solution. And then you have a choice if you want to sell it as an agent or as a reseller. Now, a reseller, typical reseller model, you buy low, you mark it up, you sell it at a higher price. And you can do that with these wholesale cloud models too. Wholesale cloud is a deceiving term because it doesn't necessarily mean you can rebrand it. And so WebEx offers, for example, WebEx wholesale, but and RingCentral offers this to some providers, but you can't rebrand it. It has to be by RingCentral or powered by WebEx or something like that. But Intermedia allows you to completely rebrand it. So wholesale cloud, rebrandable wholesale cloud would be the way that I would describe that. So Intermedia actually has one of the most versatile platforms right now, because you can rebrand it, because you can go to market different ways, and because it has a unique portfolio. It has all the UCaaS stuff you would expect, but they also have things like file storage. They even offer email. They have archiving services, and all of this can be rebranded as well. So a pretty comprehensive suite, or a differentiated suite with differentiated go-to-market opportunities, sold as a pure cloud wholesale model. I think that makes them really interesting. And they're not coming at this new. They've been at this for a long time with the same leadership, I might add. Fairly stable company. They provided the wholesale services to NEC. I think that NEC chose Intermedia because of this flexibility in go-to-market and branding and resale models, etc. And NEC recently decided to exit that business, and Intermedia decided to buy that base. And so I'm not sure if Intermedia is going to keep the Univerge Blue name much longer. I doubt they will, but they'll probably shift it back to Intermedia soon. So Intermedia has been doing this a while, and NEC kind of pushed them into becoming a global provider. They were available just in North America, and they are now available in most markets, and all these different models on top of that. So I do think Intermedia is actually in a really good position right now. They've got a complete solution set. They've got their own CCAS, they've got their own UCAS, they've got these other utilities like archiving and email and file storage. They also have these multiple go-to-markets with agents and resale models, rebrandable models. It's a pure cloud solution, and so very versatile solution. They have a lot of strong competition too. I would say the service provider voice category is becoming more competitive and more differentiated than the UCaaS category. And one other thing I should mention about Intermedia is that they have SMS built in. Now that is by no means a rare feature. A lot of UCaaS providers have SMS built into their solution stack, but a lot don't, and it surprises me how many don't. So they have SMS built in. Now what I really want to see happen is I really want to see UCaaS providers jump on RCS, Apple promised to deliver RCS back in 23. They said they'd deliver it in 24. They did deliver it in 24, and yet not a single UCaaS or CCaaS provider has made RCS a native part of their stack yet. Much bigger opportunity than SMS, in my opinion, and I'm looking forward to that happening. So, but I think the vendors that have SMS will probably get to RCS faster than the ones that don't have SMS. Intermedia also has a couple of really nice features that I've noticed as a user when I'm on their platform. For example, in their screen sharing, it's just ready to go with markup. And every presentation I've been in with Intermedia, someone's drawing on the slides, which I think is really nice. It makes explaining things a little easier. And I like the fact that on Do Not Disturb, that there's separate settings for text messaging and calling. I would really like to be able to put my phone on Do Not Disturb, but I don't, because I want to get the text messages. And so the service I'm using doesn't distinguish between text and voice, and I think that's a nice feature on Intermedia. So I do think Intermedia is in a fantastic position. I didn't even mention all their integrations. They work great with Microsoft Teams, but they also work great with so many other applications, including CRMs and a number of vertical applications. And because it's all rebrandable, the vertical applications can seem fairly comprehensive with a complete telephony stack in there as well. I want to thank you for watching, and we'll be back soon with another Dave Musing video.